Okay,
Yep.
biggest threats to the SEC.
Oh boy.
So, again, I think it's a two-parter here. For the first part is, what's the biggest threat to the SEC being as good as it was last year? Well, we said last year. I mean, you've had about as perfect of a non-conference you could have had. Is that going to happen again
Hmm.
this year? Probably not. It's going to be impossible to replicate. I don't know that any conference will be able to replicate what the SEC did in non-conference play last year. It was the best case. Your worst loss of non-conference play came on opening night, and then
Yeah.
from there it was like smooth as could be. South Carolina lost to North Florida on opening night. That was the worst loss for the SEC in non-conference play. What was I don't remember the record. One something and 23 or 187 and 23, 185 and 23, something like that. It's going to
Crazy.
be hard to replicate. So just by the nature of that, why? Well, because some of these other conferences are getting significantly better. The ACC had a really good offseason.
Ooh.
Louisville had a good offseason in terms of the way they rebuilt their roster. Sorry, close your ears, Kentucky fans and everyone else. I mean, look at what Will Wade did at NC State.
Yep.
Like Duke is going to be a national title favorite. You keep going down the line. I think North Carolina is going to be significantly better. And so you just keep going down the line to me, and that's like, all right, the ACC is not going to be what they were last year. And so I look at it from that perspective and think, okay, that's one of the things. Beyond that, I mean, the Big East, as we mentioned. I mean, you can tie that into the money talk, but with the Big East, I mean, you've got some teams that I think are clearly going to be in a position to have a lot of success, right? I mean, St. John's is going to be back. Can they not allow that second round upset next year? UConn may be ready to grab another national championship. And you just keep going down the line, Max. I mean, that's the way I see it, at least right now. You've got your normal favorites, and I'll go back to DraftKings here. Houston and Purdue right now are currently your co-favorites to win the national championship, both, plus 1,000. Duke's at 1,100. Michigan's 1,500. UConn 1,500. Florida at 1,600. BYU is kind of that team that's going to jump into the mix
Yep.
this year, obviously. And so, the SEC is still going to be really good. But I do think when you're talking about how the non-conference portion affects your overall NCAA tournament resume as a conference, probably going to pick up a few more losses this year, even if for the good teams, just because I think you're looking at some of these other conferences / teams have restocked and reloaded, and I think that could make a big difference potentially.
Yeah, a lot of people have Purdue and Houston as their top favorites here for if we're talking about who outside the SEC has the best chance at a title. Purdue, you've got your All-Americans with Braden Smith and TKR. You bring over the South Dakota State Jackrabbit, Oscar Clough, and then you got the 7'3" guy, Jacobson, who, oh, wow, Purdue's got another 7'3" guy. Shocker. Yep.
Where's
Right
Sam
back
Smith?
in the mix.
Don't tell Sam. Oh,
right
man.
back at it. And then that backup point guard, the international Mayer, he's supposed to be pretty dang good. So Purdue just returns the usual guys, and then they had a unusually good portal haul. Matt Painter dipping into the international pool and bringing over the Oscar Clough. That's a pretty good portal haul for Purdue. And then Houston, gonna be a little bit of a new look Houston, gonna be a little bit of the same. You're gonna still have Uzan, Sharp, and Tugler. My favorite, you're gonna, oh gosh, get ready for how much I'm gonna talk about JoJo Tugler this year, guys.
He might be playing for the next 10 years. You may actually pay that guy to keep playing college basketball. So
I love this man, JoJo Tugler. He's one of my favorite players ever. But Chris Sinek, top freshman, he's supposed to be a stud, as well as Harwell. A little bit of a younger Houston team this year, Blake. If there's a knockback on Houston, what I've seen is they're a little bit younger than usual.
yeah, but those big three can carry you a long way.
Right.
As we saw, I mean, I think these guys can still carry you pretty far. And if you're a freshman playing for Kelvin Sampson, you got to be pretty good, and you got to have it.
Yep.
And I think he would not have these guys in this position if he didn't think they could do that. So it will be a little different. Again, you're not talking about a team that's starting, old every position. But I think having those three leading the way, especially just the backcourt duo, I feel okay about Houston being, again, maybe the favorite heading into next season, although it looks a little bit different. Purdue's the one where I just keep going back to, and I'm like, how many years have these guys played basketball? I mean, like Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, I'm just like TKR. I feel like these guys have been there forever. But that's going to be a benefit too. And I'm looking at them and thinking, okay, that looks like your kind of Purdue team that should be 1 seed type again. That's probably the expectation with them next season. And so, because I mean, who's going to be able to match that trio in terms of like just the experience they've had in big games? And it's going to be hard to do. So I look at that and feel like, yeah, they're going to be one of the best teams out there.
Yeah, just TKR and Smith, just that duo returning, just that is fantastic. Is a lot more than most teams have. And then you add in all the other pieces. See why are they the number one? Are they the favorite right now? Are they the betting favorite?
Those two are the betting. Houston and Purdue are the co-betting favorites. They both have the same odds. So, yeah, and Duke is a little bit behind them. But I think Duke's an interesting conversation because obviously, once again, it's a new look Duke team because, they're trading one stud for other studs. And so, but I mean, look, it's a Duke team that they're going to feel different because there's no Cooper Flag on this roster. But like, come on, folks, let's not ignore the idea that they're still going to be tremendous. And I think Duke being in this position, I mean, and like we said, I think if you're looking at the ACC specifically, I'm going to pull up these records because I can remember the SEC just dominated the ACC in the challenge last year.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen again because I think you're kind of see the floor for some of these ACC teams is going to be a little bit higher than it was last year, where it was just like we said. I mean, man, some of these teams were just so bad. And, so like, take, for example, let's take the ultimate extreme example, Miami. Miami was 7-24 last year, 3-17 in the ACC. Your team at the very bottom, I think, has a very decent chance to be in a position where if you look at what Jai Lucas has done with the roster, like Trey Donaldson's there now. I mean, they've done a pretty good job of putting together a nice roster at Miami. And so, like, if I look at it from that perspective, I'm thinking, okay, the worst team in the ACC last year about to raise their stock significantly. Like, listen, betting odds, if you want to put them, like, in relation to some people, Miami doesn't have that far off, like, odds in terms of a national title than a Missouri, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, teams like that. So, they're kind of in that pack right there. And so you look at the other teams that were at the bottom of the ACC. NC State, 12-19, 5-15. NC State is one of the favorites to win the ACC this year now. They should be, in my opinion, when you look at the roster that NC State's Will Wade's put together. Virginia, obviously a change there, right, in terms of like what the expectations will be. They go 15-17, but now you swap coaches, a guy who's won everywhere he's been. They're back up to maybe not being vintage Tony Bennett, Virginia, but they're going to be really good. And so even if some of the teams at the top take a little bit of a step back, right? And I'm just picking teams here randomly. I'm not just picking teams. Let's say Stanford, he went 21-14, 11-9. Although I'm not sure that's going to happen either. I mean, Kyle Smith's a pretty good coach. So you just look at some of these situations, and I'm thinking the bottom of the ACC is going to be significantly better to the point to where a couple of those teams could even be title contenders in the ACC.
Yes.
And then the top, Duke's not going anywhere. Louisville, I mean, they went 18-2 in the conference last year. That's probably not going to happen again, but they could be a better team. You see what I mean? Like, you could be better and still lose a few more conference games because the conference will be better. As we said, I mean, some of these other teams are going to take a step forward. So if for the SEC, you're going to lose some of those games in non-conference play probably. You're probably not going to go 14-2 again.
Yeah, this is not going to be received well, Blake. This is not going to be received well. This Louisville team is going to be dang good. I'm talking good. Like, sneaky Final Four contender, good. No one is going to be able to match this shooting except for a few teams. And we've talked, if you've been following along, you know who I like as the top shooters in the SEC. But Conwell is a sniper, McNeely, sniper, and Woolley, sniper. Pryor is a stretch. He can shoot it. Ruths can shoot it. Hadley's one of the best glue guys in the country. And then this Sananda Fru guy from Deutschland, he's incredible. You watch this guy, he can guard a point guard on the 3-point line and stay in front of him and move his feet. Like, he's a really, really athletic big, this Fru guy. Can switch anywhere, super quick and versatile. And then Khalifa from BYU a few years ago. This is a really, really solid team. Might not be received well, but I'm telling you right now, they're going to be dang good.
Listen, you guys want us to talk college basketball? We're talking college basketball. We hate to tell you that some of these teams may be pretty good. We hate to do it, but we have to tell you. And Skyler brought up a good point. Yeah, remember, too, that Louisville's not going to be 18-2 because they're not playing as many conference games, which was, I think, a great idea from the ACC's perspective, to scale that back a bit, because that gives you more opportunities out of conference to schedule better. And if you are in a situation where you feel like the conference is a bit of a transition, playing more conference games does not help your overall body of work. So I like they're scaling that back a little bit. That should help. But yes, I mean, look, and we're not just saying this to hype up Louisville. They have the 10th best odds right now to win the national championship. So they're technically a top 10 team, right? They're right there.
They really
with
have the
Arkansas.
10th best?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're right. What do you know? They're right behind Kentucky. So Kentucky has the 9th best odds. Louisville has the 10th, which here's the trio you want. St. John's has the 8th best odds. Kentucky has the 9th. Louisville has the 10th. So it's the ultimate Rick Pitino trifecta. Classic stuff there. So
Blake, you had mentioned a team right when we started the topic that has not been brought up again. And I think it's a very interesting conversation because we were just talking about the caps and the money and everything. Welcome to now your yearly preseason national title contender talk for the BYU Cougars. I mean, get a load of this squad. Holy smokes. Rob Wright, Richie Saunders, Kennard Davis, AJ. Are you kidding me? Keita can rebound over anybody. Great depth with Pickens behind Rob Wright. Man, this is a nasty team.
Are they going to leave a spot anywhere? Or are they just going to fill every single spot out there at BYU? Is there? I mean, there's not a single spot on that team available. They got 15 guys there on this depth chart, Max Barr's depth chart. My goodness.
Look at that height,
yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good team. I know Big Baller Brett will weigh in with his thoughts on the BYU Cougars, but yeah, they're going to be pretty good. Now, keep in mind, please do not compare last year's BYU team to this year's BYU team, because there is a big, significant difference, and he's the 4th player to the right on the top line there. Like, let's not act like this guy's not good, folks. He is really good. And, I mean, he's going to be a stud. Big Baller Brett weighing in, just as I thought. One word's all he needed. Overrated, Big Baller Brett says. So,
where are these guys in the odds? Are they top 10?
They have the 7th best odds. I'm glad you asked. So, they have the 7th best odds right now, ahead of that Kentucky, Louisville, St. John's trio. Yeah.
So Vegas is saying BYU is going to be a 2 seed.
Yes, which I think is accurate. Sounds about right to me. So, I mean, if you look at it from a conference perspective, I would think that, let's see. I mean, Houston will be the favorite, but I would, based on these odds, UConn's or BYU's your second favorite in the Big 12. So, yep. So
who else
Houston,
did we
BYU. Miss? Well, we hadn't talked about UConn that much, but I think, they're one of the teams, and Michigan too. They both have the same odds right now, plus 1,500. But I think UConn, to me, this is like the Silas Demery edition. He's our guy. I think this to me looks more like, all right, what's that I see? A veteran front court for the UConn Huskies, potentially leading them to a national championship? You don't say.
with a
But
7-foot freshman that no one
right,
really heard of off the bench.
yeah, I think UConn
Hmm.
should be pretty good. So, and I think again, Demery's one that the Georgia thing. There were ups and downs like with anybody, but I think like to me, that dude can play, and I've always said that, and I think that this may be kind of that fresh start that he needs, and I would expect him to do really big things there at UConn, and then Michigan. Um,
You want to talk about front court depth, boy?
I was like, you want to talk about a team that's absolutely loaded in the front court. I mean, yeah,
Whew.
that's a team right there that's going to win some games. So I think yeah, like Michigan, understandably so. I mean, the Lindenborg one goes without saying. We were trying to get him to the SEC, that didn't happen. But yeah, I think clearly that they should be one of the favorites too, and it makes sense. And then if you do go down and look at some of these other teams that are kind of in the conversation, this is where I think we talk about it from a conference perspective. All right, so after Arkansas, who has the 13th best odds according to this, then you get kind of a run of teams like Kansas, Arizona, Texas Tech, all from the same conference, right?
Yep.
So like Big 12 loaded. ACC should be much better. Big East, as we said, going to have some teams that have really put some money in. And we only talked about, UConn, but there are some other teams that have put some big money in from the ACC perspective, or excuse me, the Big East perspective, and St. John's too. We mentioned them. So I think that's what you're seeing is just that I think the floor for some of the teams or some of the conferences that really struggled last year gets higher. The SEC is still going to have, as we mentioned, should have double-digit teams be in the conversation for the NCAA tournament. But if we're talking about a potential SEC title repeat after finally winning one for the first time in 13 years, you've got some big threats to that, and you've also, again, in non-conference play, when you get into the challenge, when you get into the tournaments, you're going to have more of these teams that seemingly, because everyone was chasing after the SEC, we said it. Like you knew some of these teams and conferences were going to go out and say we gotta be better than that. And I think clearly a situation here where it looks to be the case with quite a few of these. So
yeah, that Michigan. I'm gonna bring back up that Michigan front court. There we go, right on cue.
How long can the Mario play basketball? We're asking this about a lot of guys, folks. Like it's not just the Mario Burnett. We're asking this about a lot of guys out there. How long has that guy been playing? So
I put out a tweet. Oh man, probably a few weeks ago now. After Condon returned, and I said, "All right, here's your best front court in America." And the only argument that I would say, okay, yep, I'll allow it, would be saying that Michigan's got him. Lindenborg, Morris Johnson, Will Shetter, Ade Mara. Whew, that is a nasty front court, especially given that their coach is Dusty May. So it's just that front court is going to kill some teams. Blake, I've got a little bit of a long shot. Okay, I've got a long shot. I haven't even told you this yet. I have not shared this with anybody. This might get me bad come next season. But I've got a long shot here, and I think this may be a team that's flying under the radar that is just going to be so tough to beat. They're just going to be a tough team to beat, and you're not going to see this coming. I'm talking, if I can load it into the StreamYard here, I'm talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Oh, wow.
You did not see this coming, okay?
Don't tell Missouri fans. Oh,
Hear me out. Their coach is a star, Ben McCollum. He is a star. Fantastic coach. Bennett Sturtz is top 5 point guard in the country. Housen's a sniper. He's going to be able to shoot the lights out. They are so high on this Howard kid. Played a lot of big minutes as a freshman last year. They bring in Phil Garris. Kentucky fans, you guys are familiar with Phil Garris. We're going real hard after him. And then Manyawu, Cam, and Tavion Banks, that was their 2-man front court. That was their 2-man 5 rotation last year. They returned them also. This team, I'm telling you, you're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to be so dang tough to beat, though.
Yes, that's what happened, Brian. Like their team just said, "Come on over, play for the Hawkeyes."
It's the team from last year minus Mitch Muscari.
Yeah.
plus Hausen and Fulgaris. I had to throw that in there because it's my little
All those
sneaky
jokes we made
contender.
last year about, I think Chris said something that one day about how we needed to be watching Iowa and Wisconsin or something. We're like, you
Wisconsin.
kidding me? Are you kidding me? We're watching this over. I don't know who we're talking about. You may actually have to. Max may be watching Iowa over somebody next year.
I was looking through that. Those are my. I'd say Iowa and Louisville are my two teams where I'm like, they're not going to be talked about as the top of the top, but you look at, they're just going to be so dang tough to beat.
By the way, Wesley brought up earlier, and he's right. Khalifa did get his whatchamacallit denied, the waiver. So
Like
he will not play.
100% denied.
Yep, got denied. He will not play in 25-26.
Get him off the roster depth chart, Max. What are you
Max
doing?
said, let me get to that right now.
Get him out of here.
So, yeah, it got denied. So, that's, based on what I see there. So, all right. Well, there you go. There's some thoughts on that. Yeah, I mean, I said earlier, I think NC State's a team that I would absolutely put in there. I don't know where they're going to be ranked, but Will Wade's one of the best basketball. Like, that dude gets the most out of his teams. And you can say what you want about everything else, but, like, dude's a winner when it comes to the basketball games. So, yep, that is.
Let me pull NC State up here real quick, just because we haven't seen them yet. And they're going to be fun. I mean, I'm talking first game of the year. I'm watching NC State. I want to see how this team looks. This team excites me.
Yeah, I mean, the Darian Williams one obviously was just like, I mean, are you kidding me? Like, Will Wade's out of here pulling Darian Williams to the mix.
I know.
But pairing him with Van Allen Lubin in the front court.
Oof.
Oh, my.
And Arsenault.
Oh, my. Yeah, and Arsenal too. I forgot about that. Oh, boy. Yeah, NC State's going to be really good. To me, they're the second best team in the ACC, and I wouldn't even be against some people that want to put them up against Duke there. I mean, that's what I'm most excited about. Duke, NC State now, because Will Wade at Cameron, are you kidding me? Oh, can they just play there twice a year instead of splitting the home and home? I'm all in on it. So
this team was like, they were really fun. They get Arsenault, they've got Holloman, really fun team. Who's it going to be at the 2? Is it going to be Breed or McNeil? Pretty much a coin flip. Whoever you want to put in your head there, Breed and McNeil, pretty much the same in my mind. And then you bring in Darian Williams, and it's like, oh, crap. They're going to be good.